Thanks for spending part of your weekend with us. According to the Associated Press, an increase in suicides has military leaders reconsidering how to offer mental health resources to service members. Suicides among active duty service members increased by more than 40% between the years 2015 and 2020. How to help from brain coach Leigh Richardson, founder of the Brain Performance Center. Leigh, are things getting any better?
I think the problem's getting worse, Gordon. And honestly, I think the problem's getting worse not only for service members, but for everybody in general. I know that I just was on a panel a week or so ago put on by the Greater Northern Texas Veterans Association, and they're really concerned about PTSD and suicide. And suicide has been something that has gone up globally. It's not just a problem in the States.
There was a note here I'm looking at that talked about the Army issuing new guidelines to commanders on how to handle mental health issues in the ranks. I know these guys aren't trained necessarily, so I assume they're just looking at like almost a playbook or something. I mean, we can do better than that, I presume.
Well, I would presume that we can, but I think having a place to start, and I think part of the purpose, their intent was to identify available resources. And, Gordon, just talking about it makes it a lot more okay to not be okay. If you don't talk about it, then that keeps that stigma in place.
Yeah.
And, and having the leaders be the one that come out and talk about it, I think that sends a message as well.
Yeah. You know what? You get to the point here, and that's talking about it. And I'm sure that most people would agree that talking about it is a great idea. Here's the issue, right? This is a mostly male entity, right? The U.S. military. It sometimes is seen as not macho to talk about it. And the rest of us who are civilians, I wouldn't even know how to approach somebody who's taken bullets in Iraq or Afghanistan or roadside bombs or IEDs. Who am I to begin to engage somebody? I have zero credibility. How does that conversation begin?
Well, I think it begins just like it would with anybody that you care about. And I was around a lot of veterans at this event, and I was amazed at what they are all doing individually to reach out and to help each other. And I honestly think the biggest problem for people, when you go into the military, you go through basic training, you have a really good idea of what your lifestyle is going to be like. But then when you come out of the military, nobody tells you how to reconnect. And I've worked with the military since I started my practice in 2009. And it was a population I targeted because my dad, the only hospital that my dad really felt comfortable going to was the VA hospital.
Yeah.
And that was fine, but my mom would have to drive past 3 other hospitals that, on the way there. So that was stressful. But it's a population that I've wanted to work with because I believe that, they have a unique lifestyle. And when you come out of, you're in an environment where you know exactly what to do, everything's on a schedule, whoever's next to you has your back, whether they like you or not, they got your back. And you come home and you don't necessarily feel like you fit in. I'm working with a young man, and he told me, he said, Leigh, when I was born, my dad was away at war. He said, Leigh, do you know that the war went on for 17 years? And I'm like, wow, actually, no, I didn't. And I think that's a big part of it. And I've worked with a lady that, she said, I've never forgiven him for that 6th deployment that he went on. Jeez. So it's been such an exaggerated time frame that I think that really plays in.
Yeah. We're speaking with Leigh Richardson. She is a brain health coach and also founder of the Brain Performance Center in Dallas. And we're talking about getting service members the mental health that they need. You said it, too, like those who seek help often find that the stigma is not only real, but compounded by bureaucratic obstacles. How so?
Oh, absolutely. And discrimination. The military is just like the rest of the world. There's racial discrimination, there's sexual discrimination going on. And sometimes, the abuse can come from the person that you report the discrimination to.
That's Leigh Richardson, brain coach and founder of the Brain Performance Center in Dallas.